to Search Talk Live with search engine optimization and marketing experts Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin, powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies.
Welcome back to another episode of Search Talk Live. My name is Robert O'Haver, internet marketing junkie, and with me today is my co-host Caleb McKelvin.
Yeah, I love the applause.
I never get it.
I know. It's only for me. It's only reserved for me. But right. Robert, how's it going today, man?
Good, man. Good.
Feels good to be back in studio. Another awesome episode of Search Talk Live.
Yeah,
we have a good one today.
Yeah, we do. We have we're just a couple of days away from launching on iHeartRadio.
Oh, yeah.
Which is going to be huge. I mean, they say that there's 80,000 users on there. I want 0.01% of that, and I'll be happy.
Yes.
What is that?
Absolutely.
It's like 8,000.
Yeah. No, it's definitely going to help, get our show out there. We definitely appreciate the opportunity, especially with the help from our sponsor, Robert Palmer Family of Companies, always helping us out. But now we have an opportunity to share our knowledge with an even larger audience, and it's going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities for people to come on. The people that are experts, or they're on the cusp that possibly want to get the word out, and that are really talented but just don't have that opportunity. We'd love to give that opportunity to people that are really knowledgeable in the industry, but just haven't taken that opportunity or had that chance yet to kind of speak.
Well, Rob, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people that know what they're talking about. It's not just us, even though we want to claim that it's just you and I that know what we're talking about. There's a lot of individuals out there that are doing online marketing, doing SEO, doing SEM, and social media correctly, and they have a lot of knowledge about it. And, that our job, what we wanted to do when we start this, is get as much good knowledge out there as we can to help site owners, business owners, everybody. And so this is going to be huge in expanding that. Yeah,
and we do a huge kind of background check on every guest we have on the show.
Yeah, we do.
We check out their followers. We check them out online, everything. So if something doesn't jive, you can't be on the show. It's just that simple, because we want to make sure all the advice that we give you is best practices and working for everyone.
Yeah.
We don't want to give you something that's going to give you a penalty or something like that.
No, absolutely not. And especially with all of the latest happenings in SEO, updates and algorithms, and on what kind of the show's about today. But, you really have to be on top of your stuff. And so we get the best of the best to come on here to make sure that we're giving the best knowledge, best advice, and the best tips possible.
Yep, absolutely. Now, Caleb, we had a listener last week that left us such an amazing message on Facebook.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that kind of make you want to keep going, because it was just so sincere and all that stuff. But Caleb, I want to have you read that for me, okay?
Yeah, no, definitely. And we're going to call this user out. I hope she doesn't mind.
Don't say the last name.
Huh?
Don't say the last name.
Delma. Miss Delma. We really appreciate your comments. We've gotten some pretty good feedback on the show so far. Nothing too negative, but we've got some really good feedback. And we appreciate everybody who takes their time and comments on the show and sends us comments like this, because, it definitely, boosts us on, continuing what we're doing. Thelma just said after the Matt Weber episode how much she loved the episode and everything like that, it is an awesome episode. You can go to searchtalklive.com and check out past shows and check out the Matt Weber episode. But, she says she discovered the show about a month ago, and she's listened to every single episode. She says it's got a lot of valuable information, and, she feels like has grown her knowledge by listening to the show, and that's what this show is all about.
Yep. So let's get to our guest. Our guest today has been in the industry since 95. Like, not just SEO, but website development, moving into the SEO part, which is kind of a natural kind of...
For you young folks out there, it's 1995.
Yeah,
1995. So he's been in this for a long time.
Yeah. That's right after the web opened up.
Right. Yeah.
No, sorry, Alan. I was just playing.
Anyways.
But anyway, our guest today is Alan Bleiweiss. He's a forensic SEO consultant, author, trainer, and speaker, and an all-around geek like us.
Yes. Alan, how you doing today?
All right. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
I hear you pretty good. We appreciate you taking the time to join us and share your expertise with our audience.
Now, Alan
Grateful to be here.
Yeah, Alan was a referral from one of our listeners.
Yeah.
Somebody hit me up on Twitter and said, "Hey, you got to get this guy on your show. He is, not to give you a big head, Alan, but it is awesome.
Yeah.
He can give great insight.
Guy knows what he's talking about."
Yeah. So, Alan, tell us a little bit about yourself. Starting from when you got into SEO.
Yeah. So, as you mentioned, I got into web development back in '95. And so for the first 5 years or so, it was web development and managing projects, small, medium sites, but also enterprise and Fortune 500. And because of my experience with larger engagements, $2 million web builds, there was a lot of need right from the start to be able to make sure that we offered our clients the right kind of solutions to reach the right market. And so when a client came to me in around 2000 and said, "Hey, what's this SEO stuff?" I knew that I didn't know the answer and that the proper response was, "Well, I'll find out." And so I dug into it. And I knew pretty quick that it was going to be important. I didn't realize at the time how important it would become, let alone that it would become my entire life. But that was my beginning. It was just diving in, and fortunately, even the way it is today, I rely on other people, but back then especially, other people have gone before me, and I was able to do a lot of learning by reading and taking what I read, but not just assuming that what I read was accurate, because it's on the internet, it must be true. I don't believe in that. Right?
Yeah.
And using discernment and sound business logic and sound marketing logic that goes way beyond the concepts of SEO.
Yeah.
And that's what got me deep into this experience.
Right. So you've been doing it for a long time, Alan. I mean, 95 web development, around 2000 SEO. This is a question that I'm always interested in for people that have been in the industry for a long time. What are some of the major obstacles and adjustments you've had to make or challenges that you've seen up to this point? Because, we have several of them today, but it seems like it changed so much from that time to now. Of course, it has. But what are some of the major adjustments that you've had to make in the industry throughout your career?
Every time the next shiny object of opportunity comes along for marketers or for developers, you need to be able to look at those and sometimes make initial snap judgments, because some clients are like, "Oh, wow, we read or we heard about," and they want to be involved with whatever the new great thing appears to be.
Right.
So the biggest challenge for me has always been, how rapidly can I properly assess whatever the next shiny object is and make a sound decision in order to recommend to clients whether they should even be thinking about it now or keep it on the radar.
Right.
And adjust as you go along, right? Because it's always evolving, it's always changing. The core concepts are always the same, but the channels, the funnels, the methods vary greatly year in and year out.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be something you probably have to stay up on a consistent basis, because there, especially in online marketing, there always seems to be, each week it seems that a new shiny object shows up, and if you're not in, you're falling behind kind of thing, but that's not always the case. But that's the perceptions that some clients get. So I imagine that's a consistent challenge, right?
Yeah, and that's a really significant portion of my life.
Right.
For the last few years, I've been fortunate enough that I no longer need to work on client projects full time. I get paid really well for what I do, and that allows me to take a lot more of my day-to-day time to devote to research and discussions with my peer community about these concepts.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah. So you're listening to Search Talk Live. You can call in and ask Alan or one of us a question. The number is 855-722-0006, option 1. Again, that number is 855-722-0006. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Alan, so forensic SEO, Now, I know some people kind of hear that term and might be thinking they're listening to the X-Files or, one of your CSI shows, but you hear forensic SEO. And if you don't know it, it's pretty important. And Alan is he's on top of forensic SEO. It's pretty much what he does. What is it? Why is it important? And what should clients know about it?
Right. So forensic SEO, to me, right, everybody's got their own definition, and you can go into the dictionary and pull out the word forensic and dissect it all you want.
Yeah.
For me, forensic SEO is not just looking at the surface, not just looking at the words on the pages, page to page, and where the keywords are. It's digging deeper. It's going into the body that comprises SEO, all of the different elements, right? So, if you're a surgeon, you got to cut open the chest and you got to dig inside, and you got to know what's going on and how. Not only how. Let's say if you're a heart surgeon, right? You don't just need to know about the heart and how it works. You need to know how the heart is connected to other processes in the body, other functions in the body, other systems,
right?
And know how they work together, because they all relate to each other in terms of getting the job done for the body to stay alive,
right?
And not just stay alive, but for a human being to thrive. There are a lot of conditions that exist outside of the heart itself. So I look at the heart, but I also look at all of the systems and all of the connections and all of the related aspects of the functioning that goes into SEO.
The high technical stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's technical, and it's content, and it's marketing. Sure. All of those, right? So just one example in terms of technical, right? So with technical, you have content that's presented in a web browser, and there's code underneath that makes that happen. So the code is part of it. Technical also includes, the link factors and how links are evaluated. And technical goes much deeper, though, because, for example, content isn't just about words on a page, but one page relates to another page, and an entire section impacts the whole site. Mm-hmm. And the links that point to one page can impact another page. And what are the signals with other websites? So there's an entire ecosystem that at the technical level, even when we're just talking about words, can get really complex. So forensic SEO, for me, is about being able to understand what are all of those moving elements, how do they relate to each other, not just as individual entities, and what are the barriers or the weaknesses that might exist now, and how do we get past them given all of those needs having to be met to a certain degree, but where there's also limitations that most businesses have in being able to do any one or more of those things.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that, many site owners kind of lose track of, is your entire site has to be working, together kind of for a common goal. I mean, I guess you can kind of do the team aspect. If everybody's working towards a common goal, then it's going to be achievable. But if you got certain parts not working together, then basically you're fighting against each other and hurting yourself. So this is kind of the same sense.
Yeah, exactly. And so, to make it really simple in terms of how things can fight against each other, I'll give you an example. If you have a page title that communicates one set of phrases, but if the content on the page is talking about a completely different subject, that's the simplest way I can say, well, there's going to be a conflict for the search engines. Even if a human being can get past those challenges, a search engine doesn't have the ability to process like a human does even today. Yeah. So there's going to be confusion in the algorithms.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's one of the major factors I think that a lot of people talk about when it comes to kind of auditing is kind of your backlink profile, all the links that are pointing at you and everything like that. So when you're looking at these, what are you essentially looking at to say, okay, hey, we got a problem here, or things look good?
So specific to links you're asking?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So links. It's not just about links and having links, because that's what it was in the early days, right? The Wild West days of SEO. You could just get a bunch of links.
Right.
And eventually what happened was people realized, wow, if all I have to do is get links, let me just get a whole bunch of links. And then they decided, well, I can get links from anywhere under any circumstance. They don't have to be real. They don't have to come from real sites. We can create fake sites. We can fill YouTube comments with links and get 10,000 of them in a day for $8, right?
Yeah, right.
So as the search engines, and specifically Google, most importantly, grew in their ability to detect unnatural patterns, they started countering that. And that's my approach, is I look for unnatural patterns. And the unnatural patterns come in several different sizes and shapes and looks. There's unnatural patterns in terms of the types of websites that point to your site. Are they in the same industry, or do they focus on reaching the same market? Are they sites that are themselves trustworthy and or authoritative? You can get valid links that come from sites that don't themselves have authority, but those are still valid links because maybe a site is newer, or maybe a site doesn't have the same kind of audience. And it's still a valid link, though, but only under certain circumstances, right? I mean, there's a lot of artificial sites out there. So I look at the trustworthiness of those sites. I look at, is this a topic that is relevant not just to your keywords, but to the goals that you have for your web presence, and where that reinforces the intent that a searcher has when they're looking for information.
Right.
And that's just a handful of examples. There's many more things to look at, right? So I can I can look at the quality of the individual pages. I can look at, in terms of the refinement of the focus, having a link come from a page on another website, even if that link comes from a valid website, a legitimate website, doesn't mean it's a perfect or ideal link either. There's different classifications of quality and strength and value.
Yeah, I mean, we preach that, if the link has, it brings you traffic and it's a benefit to your site in that aspect, then that's a good link.
Yeah, and that speaks to the notion that it shouldn't all be about SEO.
Exactly.
What is the purpose of that link, right? What is the purpose of that link outside of thinking about SEO?
Right.
If you can't identify or justify or validate that link existing when you separate out SEO from it,
right,
then it's not going to be an ideal link for SEO either.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have a question now. Now some of our listeners are, they've been in the industry 4 or 5 years, 6 years. Can you tell us, you've done the enterprise level SEO? What is the difference?
Enterprise SEO and the difference?
Yeah.
It's all scale. Okay. So, on one hand, an enterprise scaled site can often get away with bad SEO in some ways when a smaller site can't.
Right.
Because of sheer volume and brute force. And conversely, what might be a minor problem on a small site can be exponentially more problematic on a larger site due to scale.
Gotcha.
And so you got two sides of that issue, right? And two very different things to be aware of here. Mm-hmm. Where one is, a lot of site owners come to me and they're like, well, we want to be able to do this because CNN does it or Amazon does it. And right, or they're a small site in a niche industry and they see their biggest competitor does something and they think, well, our biggest competitor is doing it, so it should be okay, right? Well, no, not necessarily. Yeah. And if you're not a CNN or an Amazon, or you're not the biggest player in an industry, you probably can't get away with some of the ugliness that they have.
Right.
And conversely, if you are one of the bigger presences in a particular industry or niche or market, making small improvements that seem like, well, that's an innocuous thing to be aware of. Why do we even bother? On scale, a little bit of extra value on one page times 50 million pages, all of a sudden you get real value.
Yep. Absolutely. Now, this kind of segues into the next question. How does a small business compete with someone like an Amazon or, Walmart or something like that.
Well,
what would be your advice on that?
This is the first time during this particular interview where I get to use the words, it depends. And I use those two words in my audits and in my follow-up reviews and consulting a lot. It depends, because there is no one simple answer.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll give you two very generalized or really broad concepts that we can at least touch on this concept, though. On one hand, there are cases where I've needed to tell site owners, you know what? You may need to rethink whether you even should be in this business at all at this point because of the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's just the case. You know, back when I first started building websites in 95, you know, like I built the first real estate site in the state of California that had a real estate company's full listing database.
Wow.
Right? And it was one of only 12 in the whole country that listed all of that agency's properties. Right?
Yeah.
So it was a lot easier to compete on that scale.
Right.
But now every single town and every single city and every single state in the United States, and if we talk international, it's even bigger, not only has every agency online with all of their listings, but they have listings from other resources from the MLS, and then the MLS itself is online. Right. And then you have Zillow and all of the other big heavy lifters for aggregate content that are in the real estate niche. So the question is, what do you think you want to achieve? And let's look at a real honest evaluation of whether you might be able to achieve it or not. So that's a really important discussion.
Yeah.
From there, the next consideration is this. My biggest responsibility in this kind of a scenario with smaller sites is to communicate. Don't get lost in thinking you have to have as much content volume or as many links as the bigger sites.
Amen.
The better way to go about it in that scenario, if you're going to have any chance at all, is to focus on quality across the board. The more quality you can provide, the more quality you provide, the more likely you're going to be able to start making inroads, and where in certain scenarios you can win head to head, because maybe you're not going after 500,000 particular searches. You may only be going after 500 searches.
Right.
Well, we could leverage that to your advantage in many situations, and that's the way to go about that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, there has to be some type of advantage to be more concentrated as a smaller site and smaller business than some of the broad guys who can kind of get lost in a lot of things that are going on. So, you know, is that something that's well received when you're discussing these kind of things on the smaller scale? Is more concentrated and a smaller kind of vision can actually be better for you?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, I figured so.
Right. And sometimes it is because it gives site owners hope where they might have lost all hope previously.
Right.
And if they're willing to be realistic about the potential, then we have something to work with. Unfortunately, many site owners, and especially because I do audits, people only come to me when they either have a real problem that's been around for a long time, or alternately they're not sure if they're on the right track and they want to be sure, or they know they're missing something, but they don't know what it is, right? So those are the three typical scenarios. In that first scenario, if they've got real problems, it's because they had previously really strong rankings, and where time has caught up with them, both from the fact that bigger sites are now stronger themselves, there's more sites, and also because quite often, more often than not, when they come to me, the SEO that they had been using wasn't what I consider best practices. So now we have to start over in many ways. And if you got to start over in many ways, what might have taken them 6 months to get into the top tier previously could potentially take 2 or 3 years of effort now.
Yeah.
Sure. Absolutely. Now I would say as a strategy as well, you would probably want to find, again, you have to go back to forensic and SEO. Do your research on your competitors, what products they're carrying that you carry, and then go after maybe the products they don't carry and attack it from that way.
Yeah, and that's something to look at for sure, right? Unfortunately, when you're looking at competitive data, most smaller site owners don't have the financial resources, let alone the human resources, to put in enough time to do a really good job at that competitive analysis.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's serious work. And oh yeah, I could spend 5 minutes or an hour or 2 hours doing keyword research, right? And poking around a handful of other websites. And that, even if you're an SEO expert, you could do that and you can get some ideas, but to really understand what's going on and look at what the real opportunities might be could literally take days or weeks.
Yeah. Well, I feel like a serious challenge that people are finding themselves in now is they do the competitive research, and then what do we do with this data? What's the next step? We found out what they're doing, how they're doing it, maybe some things that we can do, but how can you actually utilize that to your advantage and get ahead? That's not easy, and being able to actually put that into practice and into play is a serious challenge.
It's a very serious challenge, but it's even more of a serious challenge because of something that you just said, some words you just used that I didn't go into at this point, and that is when we look at competitive understanding.
Yeah.
It's okay to be able to think that you can grasp core concepts about what other companies are focusing on, where there might be opportunities for you to slip in. It's another matter altogether if you think you can understand the SEO impact across the full range of it, if you haven't done a proper full audit on every one of those competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I tell clients a lot. When I do audits, I do strategic audits. I don't do tactical. So with the tactical audit, if you want to look at where some of the best competitors are getting links from, and then you take the time to consider how trustworthy are those links, and it gives you opportunities to potentially go after inbound links as well, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's all good and fine from a tactical perspective. But if you've got to figure out of the 50,000 phrases they're ranking for, and I only have the ability, I think, to go after 500,
right,
how much work is involved? And then to know why they're ranking for any one of those requires a full audit on every one of those sites.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's serious limitations. And as a result...
kind of cost prohibitive, too.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Cost prohibitive, right? So as a result, I do my best to also help guide clients in business, higher level, not just SEO, but higher level business process and business plan decisions,
right,
to make it simpler for them to come up with a conclusion and to start going towards it.
Yeah.
So not to change the subject, Alan, but you've written a book, correct?
No, actually I have a couple of guides that are available. They're available at no charge through my website, alanbleiweiss.com. And they're under the training link. And one is the Site Manager's Guide to SEO for Content Writing. And I wrote that several years ago, and it was updated probably a little bit more than a year ago, but it's still perfectly valid today for SEO when it comes to content. And then the other guide that I have that I put out more recently is for analytics and site health monitoring, so that when you do want to keep an eye on your own website, mm-hmm. you know what kind of analytics to look at, where to go to get the data, and how to understand what you're looking at with the information, and which tools I recommend for the health monitoring. Nice. So those are the two guides I have. They're both available for free. They're PDFs, easy to read, and I have several clients who actually came to me because they first found one of my guides and they were already putting it to use, and they realized how valuable it was. So they were like, let's go even further.
Nice. Yeah. Very cool. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live with Robert O'Haver and Caleb McKelvin. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com, check out everything that they have to offer, some pretty cool stuff. If you'd like to call into the show, you can do so at 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006. Hit option 1. You'll be directed to our main man, Dave, managing the phone and the show today. We are accompanied by Mr. Alan Bleiweiss. pronounced that correct, right? Bleiweiss?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Alan Bleiweiss does a expert in SEO audits, consulting, SEO training, a lot of knowledge today. So if you have a question for him, please feel free to call on in. Now, go ahead.
Hold on. One thing I forgot to get out of the way, and I usually do it in the beginning of the show, but those of you tuning in the first time, we are a digital marketing show. We cover everything from search engine marketing, search engine optimization, conversion optimization, social media, content marketing, you name it.
We got it.
We've had some amazing guests on, just like Alan here.
Yes.
We are really excited. The show is really taken off, and we are every Tuesday at 3:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, and make sure you, we try to say this every episode, make sure you go to searchtalklive.com. You can go to the past shows and check out all of the awesome episodes we've had over the past, 9-10 months now?
Yeah. Next show is going to be number 40.
Man, almost 40. Well, we got to celebrate now.
Right.
Yeah. So almost 40th episode. A lot of awesome content on there.
Also, subscribe to our mailing list, our newsletter, because we had a guest a couple weeks ago that gave away his book, which is Art of SEO. Is one of the biggest books out in the industry.
SEO.
Really, really insightful. So, I mean, it pays to be on that list, even though it's free. I mean,
absolutely. All right, Alan. I kind of want to touch on one of the things that you have already said, and actually like what you said about it is content is not just words on a page. I think a lot of people say, well, I hear a lot of people say when they talk to me, well, we have a lot of content on the page. Why isn't it helping ranking? Why isn't it driving conversions? And then when you look at it, it's just a bunch of, to be kind of honest with you, a little garbage. So when you're looking at content, kind of what's the mindset does somebody have to have when they're looking at the content on their website and trying to structure that out?
Yeah, so when it comes to content and getting it right, if there's a quote unquote right way to present content or to come up with content, that's based on the notion, just like everything else in SEO is based on, and that is that search engine optimization is the process of helping search engines algorithmically understand user experience needs. And user experience needs, translated into simple terms, is how useful is the content to the people you're trying to reach for the reasons you want them to have access to that content.
Right.
So is it answering the questions that they're asking? And not just that, but have you taken the time to think about their life cycle? So if it's a purchase decision, there's a life cycle. Somebody's just thinking about buying something, and they're just doing initial research. They're, doing the initial research on whether they want something or they need something and what it might look like or what it might need to be. Then they're going to do competitive comparison type research, right? And they're going to look for trustworthiness and authority and reliability and quality and all of those signals related to the purchase decision. And then they're going to be ready to make a decision to actually purchase, and then they're going to go to purchase. So there's several steps in that process.
Right.
And if you can provide the right kind of content at each of those decision points, you're more likely to get them to actually purchase from you. So right. Content in that scenario is useful in addressing each of those decision point processes. And that's what the most simplified way is that I can communicate content needs. Should be based on.
Right. Now, a lot of people don't understand it. That they don't look at the big picture, but they don't understand that when a page is crawled, Google's not just looking at that one page. It's looking at the entire site and coming together and say, okay, what is this site about? There's got to be a clear message on that. So I think a lot of people miss that,
Yeah, and I see this quite often with sites that I audit, right? So like I'll find what are referred to as orphan pages indexed in Google, right? Mm-hmm. Now, orphan pages are literally, the website was created in such a way that however many number of pages have this problem, but a certain number of pages exist because you can get to them from a link in the site itself. But when you go to the page, there's no header, there's no logo, there's no main navigation, there's no footer information that you would find on a website when you go directly to the homepage and deep in from there. Yeah. So those pages can end up in Google, and they're orphan pages. They're just sitting there with no connection back to the site.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's not going to be helpful to the human being who's going to want to look for who is this company, what is this page, if they find it in Google.
Now, Alan, we have a caller. Tafis is on the line. Tafis, are you there?
Yeah, hi. Yeah, I'm there, yeah.
Yes, do you have a question for us?
Yeah, definitely. My question is for Alan regarding the e-commerce pages, the e-commerce site. Suppose, like so, we have got 10,000 product pages. How can we improve the quality of the product pages so that the site is in good eyes with Google?
Well, that's a really good question.
Yeah, I'm glad he asked you there.
Yeah,
that's a big question.
And the answer is it depends. Unfortunately, SEO is so complex, right? So we've known for many years that there's likely at least, if not more, than 200 primary signals or factors for SEO.
Yep.
And then it goes further because many of those relate to each other and impact each other and either reinforce one signal or confuse or conflict with another signal, so we end up with thousands of considerations. Because of that, when it comes to product pages on scale, especially when you're talking about thousands of product pages or tens of thousands of product pages, there is no one answer how to ensure that your product pages meet Google's desired goal of best practices for quality, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, there are some core rules though. So for example, with product pages, you want to use schema markup. So that's schema, schema.org, structured markup for products, because that helps the search engines understand this is absolutely a product that's available for sale. Rather than Google having to figure it out at the code level, which they're not very good at, and that's why they came out with schema, is to help them figure that out. So that's one rule, is use schema markup for all of your products and look at how unique is this page. Now, they do a fairly good job at understanding most products are not unique, and there's going to be other websites that list the same product. And even in your own website, you might have 30 products that are really similar. But there's ways to avoid really making it a toxic signal. So, for example, if I have 3 quote-unquote products and one of them is only different from the other 2 because of color, then you don't really have 3 products. You have 1 product with 3 color options. So in that scenario, it's better to not have 3 separate product detail pages,
right,
but have one product detail page with a drop down or checkbox or radio button to choose the color. Right.
Yeah.
So that's reducing duplicate content concerns. That's another thing that you can do. And then a third concept is, because you need to convey authority and trust, you want to get legitimate, valid, unique reviews whenever possible, and where you display the reviews on the actual product page itself instead of storing your reviews on some third-party website or on another page on your site. You could put the reviews right on that page and, again, use schema markup, right? And all of a sudden, that product has more potential to be considered trustworthy, and that will in turn generate authority for that particular product, and where you can have an aggregate rating. If you have 3 or 5 different people putting reviews there, there's an aggregate rating that you can put on the top of that page.
Legitimate,
right?
Reviews.
They need to be legitimate, right?
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, now you're having more content added to those pages where it's unique content, and where it's not you, the site owner, having to come up with the content. That's user-generated content, or what we refer to in the industry as UGC, right? So user-generated content, when it's actual reviews, is an ideal way to add more content to your site where another site might not have that because they're your own customers. Those are just a few of the standard best practices for elevating the quality of those product pages.
Yeah, one thing I see time and time again also is they'll take the same product, but it's in multiple categories, but it's a different page. You know what I'm saying? So you have all that duplicate content, and when it should really all link to the one page.
Yeah, and that's another challenge too, because people want to link to all the things and they want to be found for all the things. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to products, a site can, to a certain degree, list one product in 2 or 3 different category funnels, as long as the majority of the products in each of those funnels or silos are really unique, right? So you can have some duplication.
But use canonicals as well, right?
Yeah. Right. Well, the best practice in that scenario then is don't have 3 individual product details pages at the end of each of those, right? You have a category 1, category 2, and category 3.
Right.
Even if you list that product in all 3 categories, the actual product detail page should only be one. There should only be one of them with one URL.
Gotcha.
Right. Yeah. Or if you want to, you can have 3 so that you can have a unique breadcrumb for each one of them, but where 2 of them have a canonical tag pointing back to the one that you want to have the most authority.
Correct.
Just be aware, though, that search engines are far from perfect and there's multiple layers in the algorithmic decision-making, so canonical tags are not always fully respected. And as a result, sometimes that can be a problem as well.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, I still see a lot of platforms that are doing it kind of like, since the same way they've been doing it since, the dawn of time. So, I mean, they haven't really adjusted as much,
No, and that's why to this day I get site owners coming to me with these massive problems, because as each year goes by, the more you hold on to the old, well, we don't have to consider these other things, methods cause problems, right? So right. What used to be a problem for search engines 2 years ago is an even bigger problem now.
Yeah.
The more the search engines have gotten advanced and more complex, but also where there's more weaknesses in the quality of some of those algorithmic decisions.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, such as, mobile friendly, a lot of them are still desktop and that's it.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's a big job. Yeah. So you got thousands of pages.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And when I get into it, right, with some of my clients, right, like I'm getting ready to do another really big audit. I do several a year. And one of them, this one is 30 million pages. Right?
Oh my!
Jeez.
Well, yeah, no, I've done sites that are much larger than that. So to me, it's just another zero on the end of the string.
He's bragging.
No, I'm not.
Kidding.
I'm not bragging. I'm just saying at this point it's a scale issue, right? Because I talked about scale. Scale is a consideration, right?
Sure.
And if I make a wrong recommendation, scale is going to hurt even more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it really seriously. However, in this case, there's 30 million pages, but it turns out in the intake process, I learned that they really only have 3.5 million unique pages that should be showing up.
Right.
Well, they've ended up with 30 million in the index. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's a problem.
Yeah, there's serious problems. So, but that's the reality of SEO.
Yeah.
And another disadvantage to large scale sites, when something goes wrong, it can go really bad fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Search Talk Live. We just had a really good question. If you have questions for Alan, Robert, or myself, please feel free to call in at 855-722-0006. That is 855-722-0006, and hit option 1, please.
Yeah, I hope we answered that caller's question.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we did.
I went pretty in depth with it.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Yeah, we did. And the truth is, I can talk for 5 hours just on that one topic. There's that many things to consider.
Oh, yeah.
However, I think in the time that we have that we can devote to such questions, given this format, we covered several different considerations, and the fact that you brought up the duplicate content thing, between us, we talked about a lot of really good things that people should be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. You have another question, Caleb?
Nah. Well, Oh, on the air?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about from a caller. No, we haven't had a caller yet. Alan, we've talked about it a few times on here. What is your take on RankBrain?
Yeah, so RankBrain is a shiny object that people need to run away from if they think they can figure it out and make use of it for changing their websites to be better optimized.
Yeah.
Okay? So let's just emphasize that concept. RankBrain, from the notion that you can figure it out all by itself. Don't even bother unless you're somebody like Dave Harry or Bill Slawski or a number of other really advanced technical experts who spend time with patents.
Yeah.
Right? And really diving in at that level. But even in that scenario, if you did have that skill, you would come to the same kind of conclusion that guys like Dave and Bill have, and I have as well, where RankBrain is not a ranking factor in any way that matters to the work that you should be focusing on when it comes to doing SEO.
Correct. It should be.
That's my take on it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And then, we got Panda that's supposed to be, or not Panda, Penguin that's supposed to be coming out here soon.
Yeah.
Any take on that? Because that's supposed to be automated.
So the notion of soon is an optical illusion. Okay. And unfortunately, my opinion, and the first time I came out with this particular opinion was more than a year ago now, and we're a year and a half since the last Penguin update.
Right.
But more than a year ago, I took the position that because Penguin's previous iterations had gone so far, they went too far.
Yeah.
And where site owners who weren't aware of the kind of links that were being set up for them, some of those do exist, have been so severely punished that it's cost them livelihood in a way that it shouldn't have because it was too severe, right?
I agree.
Couple that with the notion that Google is such a complex, multi-algorithmic environment, right? There's not just one main algorithm. There's, the Panda algorithm and the Penguin algorithm, and some people are claiming that Panda is now part of the main algorithm. Well, no, it's part of the main algorithmic mix, but it's still its own integral beast.
Right.
It just works hand in hand with the main algorithm. With Penguin, yes, it's a standalone separate algorithm, but there's so much complexity. I don't believe they fully understand everything that's going on, and they haven't been able to fix it.
Yeah.
And because they haven't been able to fix it, they have not been able to reach a point where they can look at their testing of how it impacts the search results to be able to say we can go live.
Yeah.
They may, in fact, have reached a point already, and they won't ever admit this publicly, but they may have, in fact, reached a point already where they've had to burn the concept to the ground and start with a new effort.
Yeah, that could be so true.
Which is really crazy scary, but it's a possibility. You don't sit around for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Unless there's really serious problems that are going on.
Look at all the sites that are still sitting there waiting a year and a half later, And the good news, if it does work properly and when it comes out, trying to be on the bright side here, is, updates will be ongoing, so nobody's going to be waiting. You're going to get penalized. You're going to get out, hopefully, if you can figure it out.
Well, yeah, let's break that down just a little bit. First of all, they have to come out with it.
Right.
And then they have to do the proper testing with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have to do separate testing to see what happens if they bake it into real time, because that's a whole nother ball of wax.
Yeah.
Right. And eventually the goal is bake it into the system. So in that scenario, then you'll see negative impact on your site for bad links hit your site sooner. Mm-hmm. And conversely, the sooner you clean it up, the sooner you'll see a bounce back. But unfortunately, that's also another distraction people need to be aware of. Even if it's a real-time, live, 24/7, ongoing evaluation.
Right.
Even in that case, they don't recrawl your site every day, and they sure aren't going to recrawl every site that has links pointing to you every day. And they're not going to crawl every page on every one of those sites every day either. So there's potentially still going to be 30, 60, 90, or 120 days.
Yeah, good point.
Before the live, ongoing system can catch up with it.
Yeah, good point. We got about 10 minutes left in the show. If you want to call in and ask Alan or one of us a question, the number is 855-722-0006, option 1. We are powered by the Robert Palmer family of companies. You can go to robertpalmercompanies.com. Check out the many companies he has. If you need a mortgage, you can go to rpfunding.com. He covers, I think, about 13 states in the United States that you could possibly get your mortgage done.
Yep.
Yeah, and just to mention, if anybody is sitting there listening and has a question where you think it's a stupid question or it's really basic, don't be afraid to call and ask. It doesn't, whatever the level of need is, this is what we're here for.
Yeah, you can go with a generic name, like John Doe.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of people, they don't call. We do hashtag Search Talk Live on Twitter. I haven't seen anything come up yet, but definitely.
Okay. Yeah. Oh.
Awesome. Let's see. We got about 10 minutes. Call into the show. You got plenty of time to make your call and ask your question to Alan. So, Alan, what's your outlook on the next 2 to 3 years? We all have to look out. We obviously know that that's going to be dynamic, but what is your predictions coming up now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So enough people within the search industry, in terms of the search industry, the portion of the industry that's visible, that's heard, that's online, that's on Twitter, that's on Facebook, that's on Quora, that's on the professional community, right? All of these areas, and you guys have already been talking about it too, right? And in conferences, we've been talking about mobile, and we've been talking about it for 2 years now.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? If you look at the most recent change that Google made, and I'm not talking about accelerated mobile pages, AMP. That's not the most recent change that Google has made. That's a red flag, wake up call.
Yeah.
The most recent change was Google moving their desktop/laptop version of Google's own pages to one column for everything. They took away the right column of display ads. Yeah. Because they're unifying their presence based on a mobile world. All right?
Yeah.
That's why they did that. They didn't do that for nefarious reasons. They didn't do it because it would drive up cost per click, although some people think they might have. Some of us like to tinfoil hat that's what they did, but let's be real.
I've seen about a 20% increase since that change.
So what they've done is they said, we're tired of serving two platforms. We're going to focus on one model.
Yeah.
And we're going to move closer to that more and more with every step that we take. And this is the latest step. So if you're a site owner and you haven't gotten your act together yet for mobile, I don't know how many more warning signs or red flags you're going to need to wake up to that. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's the biggest message that I can convey here and now.
Yeah,
right?
it is solid mobile going forward. But
and
go ahead.
You go ahead. Yeah, just one more thing with that. Google also this last week stated, or not long before that, stated that they're getting ready to boost the ranking signals that the mobile-friendly testing environment gives. And it's another step in that direction.
Yeah.
Mobile is that much more important. They're going to give more weight to it. But here's another one, and I'll give you one more, and then I'll go back to you. Right now, the mobile-friendly test does not include page processing speed. Okay, page processing speed, like core content understanding, are still based on desktop versions of sites, not mobile versions of sites.
Yeah.
Right? And so Google has not yet come out with a mobile dedicated algorithm. So as a result, you need to pay attention to your page processing speed specific to mobile devices. And this is why I love Google Analytics compared to all other analytics programs. Google Analytics gives you page processing speed details, and where you can show what that is specific to mobile users and desktop users, but where it all matters more than ever before.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up, because a lot of people miss that, you know? They focus on the desktop, but they don't even think about the mobile.
And there's going to be a trigger point at some point where the mobile friendly test is going to bake in page processing speed directly into that test.
Yeah.
But for right now, you can't rely on that test to be your only source.
Right. Now, we have another caller. Angel, you're on the line?
Yep, I'm here.
Hey, do you have a call for Alan or myself or Caleb?
Hey, for you guys. First, I want to thank you guys for all that you do. I got turned on to you guys probably 2 months ago. I went back. I've listened to all the shows, so you guys are awesome.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
I always put on my list to give you guys a call. I always miss it, and today I said, stop. I'm in the bathroom here in my job, so I can have some peace and quiet and ask you guys a couple questions.
Awesome.
Right, go ahead.
Thank you for calling.
Cool. So I got a computer shop. So my question is, I do, computer repair and I do cell phone repair. So the question is, should I separate and have, an iPhone repair website, just target that and target those keywords, and a separate one for computer repair? Or, do I put them together? And then a follow-up to that is, if I were to separate them, what do I do about my Google Places? I mean, can I have, two Google Places, one or Google Business locations with the same address, and kind of how all that will fall into place? Your opinions on that?
Do you want me to take this, Alan, or you want to take it?
Yeah, why don't you go over?
Okay. Well, to answer the question about the Google Plus thing, is you want to have just one page. Unless you have two different locations, you want to have just one business page. And then you can. I don't see the use of creating a second website. You need to focus on the one and make it awesome. Content-wise, user experience, mobile-friendly. I could go on and on and on. And Alan, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to build on that because those were both correct statements from my experience, right? The notion of one site, one Google business listing page are based on the same principle. You don't want to confuse people who are looking for you.
Right.
And you also want to gain the value of having one presence where people can learn about all your other offerings.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, one site, and you can convey all the services that you offer on that website and make it unique parts of your website. And then, especially on your Google Plus My Business page, that's something that you want to have, because you can send mixed signals to search engines, especially local SEO, and they can kind of get things confused. And so, having one site that has all your services and unique pages to your website for those services, and then have that one business location is going to be important.
Angel, did that answer your question, buddy?
Yeah, it pretty much does. I've been going back and forth.
Yeah, now if you want, you can send us an email and we can get into more specifically, or you can hit up Alan on how can they reach you, Alan?
They can reach me on Twitter at Alan Bleiweiss, so ALAN. BLEIWEISS, or you can do a search in Google for forensic SEO, and you'll see me I come up at the top, so I'm there, and you can get to my website and you can send me questions through my site's contact form.
Nice,
very nice.
That says a lot when you come up first for forensic SEO.
Right.
No, not really. No.
Come on, I'm giving you props, man.
There are not that many people who are in the industry. I just happen to have enough authority and expertise, trust to do that.
Yeah, Alan, we are about out of time.
Thanks for the call, Angel. We appreciate it.
Hold on, and I'll get back to you as soon as the show's over. But I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks for coming back every single week. We had a listener that said they have listened to every show.
That's huge.
A lot of hours.
Yes,
but
thank you to our listeners for sure.
Yeah, tweet about us, talk about us, share, like, all that good stuff. We want to get the word out about the show because we are going national next week on the next show. We want to thank Alan for being on the show, and our sponsor, Robert Palmer Family of Companies. Again, tune in next week. We've got Michael Strecker from SEM Rush, or formerly of SEM Rush, and we're going to talk some link building and all that good stuff, Penguin and all that good stuff. But thank you for listening. See you later.
Have a good one.
Search Talk Live is a presentation of the Robert Palmer Family of Companies.